Hey Aquarius, thank you for joining the channel today. It is August 17th. Hope everyone's having a great week. As always, if you would like a personal reading, check the description box below for my email. Shoot me a quick note, we'll get something set up for you. And beyond that, I just want to thank everyone repeatedly over and over and over again for all your support, all your beautiful comments, likes, shares, subscribes. I'm so humbled and so appreciative of everyone who's been incredibly supportive of my channel thus far. So thank you for that. A little bit of a different setup today, obviously. Thought you guys might want to see the cards. This is a brand new deck that we're going to be using that I just recently picked up. It's the Alchemy deck by Kim Krans. She has also been the illustrator and creator of the Wild Unknown deck, which is fairly popular. I have all three of the other decks, so thought this one might be nice to incorporate. Let's just kind of jump right into the reading though. On the top of the cards today, you've got Neptune, followed by Pluto. You've got the Great Serpent. After that, Mercury, the Sun, Ash, Benevolent Guide, Autumn, Smoke, and Copper. And so Aquarius, this is, first of all, let me just start out by saying this is a newer deck for me. I'm still attuning myself to the cards to read them properly. I'm really going to be doing an intuitive read 100% today based on what I see in the cards and the divine messages coming through. It's definitely not going to resonate with every person. I would encourage you to also check your ascendant and moon sign if as well, in addition to your sun sign. One of those will probably resonate to some capacity. But the interesting part, or the messages, I guess, rather, that I'm getting for you, Aquarius, a little bit tough to read, to be quite honest with you. Usually the cards speak very loud and clearly to me, but it took me a couple minutes in the pre-shuffle after I pulled these to tune into the cards, to hear the messages, and to appropriately interpret them for the audience today. So again, not going to resonate with every person, but this is at least what I'm picking up. Very hard to get a full read on the situation that you're currently in. What I was able to deduce is that with Neptune and Pluto at the top, it's kind of an interesting combination of cards, because when I get Neptune, I'm immediately drawn into the underworld. I'm drawn into a darker aspect to the energies. Pluto also kind of represents that for me as well, but in a different type of way. With Neptune, could be a Pisces too that you're also dealing with potentially, or Scorpio, another water sign, with Pluto in the mix. But I'm picking up on a very deceptive type of energy, an illusion, information not being shared or withheld. So please be cognizant of that, because there could be someone around you who is either deceptive or not being forthcoming with information. On the other end of the spectrum, it could also be that you're not potentially seeing something clearly for what it is. And again, I don't like to bring up these things to scare you, to make anyone's day worse. But not everything that I read on the cards is always going to be 100% perfect. So as a reader, I do have a job to communicate whatever the messages are, good or bad. So at least you can be aware of them, and that's a potential. It may never happen though. So, just keep that in mind as well. But I am picking up on a very deceptive energy around you. With Pluto, that deceptive energy I feel strongly is going to push you into some type of transformative experience. You may not be ready for that, Aquarius. It could also be leading to birth death transformation, meaning a brand new start. Or the other thing I'm picking up on is that there's a veil in front of you, and you're not fully aware of the transformation that is about to occur in your life. Could also be a positive transformation, but with Pluto, it's not always often pleasant. It's usually a rude awakening. It is highly disruptive to our status quo, our well being, and it's not always comfortable because it's outside of the norm to which we actually hope to experience, even though it may be positive in the long run. So again, there could be deceptive energy, could be pushing you in a direction that you're not aware of, that's going to lead to some type of birth death transformation. Could also be an ending to a relationship, to a situation at work, but I'm more so picking up on someone close to you that is going to either give you some information, come forth with something that has been hidden, or is going to push you in a direction that either you're not prepared for, but it's probably in your best interest in the long run to go through. It just may not be fully pleasant and you may not be fully aware of it. So, moving on from there, the Great Serpent, after that, Mercury and the Sun. The Great Serpent is, I'm drawn in immediately to the colors on the card. I'm also tapping into energies that are meant to awaken your soul. So if you've been kind of living in a delusional world, your fantasy world could also too, when I think of Pluto and Neptune, or more particularly Neptune, addictions could also be hospitals, could also be institutions, jail. Not saying you're going to go there per se, but let's say that if there's an addiction, for example, sometimes when we live in the context of those situations, essentially we have to kind of go through a transformative experience or hit a rock bottom or have a major change occur before we actually can snap out of our fantasy world to come back to reality, to see, where have I been? How did I let this get to where it is? This is, essentially has to change, whatever the case may be. It may never change, but sometimes those moments have to occur so we can move forward in life and recognize in the future not to let these types of things occur because they could have been detrimental to our being or others. That's not to say, again, this is going to affect everyone, but I do feel strongly that whatever situation is going on, something's been hidden and that it's going to come forth. It's going to transform your life. It's going to force you to look at yourself and address some of these challenges or things or aspects to yourself or the people around you that maybe you didn't want to look at or accept or come down to earth relative to, like, I have to live in this reality when I've been living somewhere else, potentially not seeing what's been going on behind closed doors when I'm right here in front of it. Mercury, the planet of communication, is essentially going to bring information forth. Again, all aligning back to the first two cards that I mentioned to some capacity in your situation. When this information comes forth for you, it's going to reawaken something inside of you. Looking at the Sun card, this is where I'm getting that energy from, that perhaps has been subdued within you because of whatever this energy has been in around you. Could just be dark energies too, if you work with shady people, you're friends with shady people, Sometimes those deceptive energies can kind of latch on to which maybe we do things we don't want to do. We say things we don't want to do. We engage in things that we know are not good for us or healthy, to do. Regardless, whatever information is brought forth, it's really going to awaken you. If you've been asleep, meaning you just haven't been there per se, engaged in your life, living it day to day, let this be a catalyst for change, because I do feel strongly that this is going to push you in the right direction, to which you're going to have to reconnect with who you are, what your goals are, ambitions are, what drives you day to day, and realize that there is hope at the end of the tunnel, right? With the Sun card. But before that can happen, Aquarius, I go to the Ash card and the Benevolent Guide. Something has to crumble before essentially can be reborn again. Some of you could go through an awakening at this time. Some of you could just find this, that you've potentially, again, been disassociated from your day-to-day living and somewhere else, and it's going to snap you back so quick, to which by the time you have time to recover, the ashes are already dust to dust, so to speak, meaning that it may be too late. And I'm not telling you this, Aquarius, to, again, bring you down, to make you feel bad, for you to expect something terrible to occur, because that really is not the point. The Benevolent Guide, I consider that almost to be me in this moment, because something has been not fully there. I can feel the energy. It's been somewhere else for a long, long time. And sometimes with Phoenix rising from the ashes, sorry, my cat. Of course he wants to jump into your reading. He's like, I love Aquarius. Unfortunately, some things have to essentially blow up in our face before we can realize the destruction that occurred in the situation, either willingly, like meaning I'm a willing participant and I contributed to this, or other times when you go through a spiritual awakening, sometimes you just unfortunately have to self-destruct. The situation has to destruct, burning itself to ashes so it can be reborn again. I'm telling you this so you have no fear moving into the future, Aquarius. None of this could happen. Maybe it happens for a select few, but it's nothing to fear. If anything, what this is redoing, it's funny that just came out, what it is doing is it's forcing you to look at some things that maybe you didn't want to fully see, or you have seen them and you've been too disassociated, caught up somewhere else in a way that has actually not been beneficial for you. And this is kind of like an awakening moment to come to terms with the fact that I need to be there. I need to be more present in my day-to-day life. I need to essentially reflect back on this situation and understand how I got here, as well as understand how can I make peace with the matter and move forward in a way that is not going to be harmful or destructive to anyone else, including myself, so I can be essentially fruitful, find my own sustainability, harvest. I look at the autumn card and I immediately think of a time during the fall where it's interesting how, like the ash, for example, it's like that's burning to dust. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's going to happen, right? In these destructive situations or energies, or when they're just truly catalysts for change in a way that is going to rock your soul. Autumn, at the same time as well, is kind of like it's a like time of deterioration, a time of decay, a time of, we're preparing for the winter time. So essentially, we're having to let things go. The leaves drop, the leaves change color. It's a decaying period moving into the winter, where we are somber and at sleep, or Mother Nature is at least. And so there could be a time this autumn where you're having to let go of things that potentially were not good for you or healthy for you. I feel strongly it could be an addiction. I'm not totally sure, but it could be that, or just deceptive energies, deceptive things, deceptive people, some things that are not maybe good for you because it's actually burning you to dust inside and you're aware of it. Or maybe you weren't, but you are now. And it's almost like you have to go through that, shed this from your being. And when you do that, smoke copper, you're going to rise up again. You will rise back and be healthy again and normal. The copper is really, when I look at that, the first thing that comes to me is a total harmonization of energies within yourself that probably, again, have been dormant for a long time. And if I have to just pull maybe 2 more cards for you. The copper, I also keep getting sustainable, meaning that you might have to reset and restart over again, figuring out how am I going to be sustainable for long term if you have to let something go, a relationship go, a person go, a drug addiction go, negative ways of being go. You have to do that in order to be sustainable for the future. There's no way you can continue on this path any longer. That's the divine message I'm getting for you. The yellowing card as well, I just picked. And I also got winter, and I got the drowned ring. So, yeah, I feel strongly that this is probably a relationship that has to end, or is coming to end. And it's a time where it's having to release and let go could be happening in the autumn or winter time as well. And potentially you having to change, not skin tones, more like, so to speak, because that wouldn't make sense, but it's kind of like a having to see the color again with life, knowing that it can be so dark, despair, and gray. Because you will come out of this, Aquarius. But it's really about letting go of the things that really were just not good for you. And you're not going to suffer from this situation too bad. You're not going to hurt. You're not going to be in pain. You're not going to regret it. All you can do is move forward and harvest and be sustainable for the future. But essentially, if you're not living your own life, if you're not engaged in it, essentially, this is probably going to continue to recycle in your life over and over and over again until the message is gotten clearly. You have to come out of it. You have to rise again. But the only way you can do that is if you release. Really intense reading today, Aquarius. Again, not going to resonate with everyone, but hopefully whoever's supposed to hear the message will hear the message. So thank you for joining the channel today. If you'd like a personal reading, check the description box below for my email. Shoot me a note. We'll get something set up for you. And as always, like, share, subscribe, put a comment in. Love to read those. And thank you so much, everyone, for supporting the channel regardless. Aquarius, I'll see you in a few more days. Hang in there, okay? Love you guys. I'll talk to you later. All right, take care. Bye.